lost 95% of our net worth. My wife was no longer in love with me. Nothing horrible along the way until it all fell apart at once. The nonsense and the lies of society. I slept on a jungle floor in a tent for 2 months. I had what's called ego death, job, career, or calling. I was living in this state of the deflated American dream. I started drinking heavily. It's the Maya, the false illusion of self.
After your divorce,
I only worry about what I can control. Know that when you're on the right path, the universe will conspire on your behalf to make your dreams come true. I don't belong anywhere, but I belong everywhere. Our whole egos are just what we've been told we are. We've become a me culture. Connections, a community, and co-creation. We all are creators of our own destiny. So it takes three things for manifestation to actually happen. We're all creators. I've lost 26 kilos.
Casey Jones from United States.
And loving kindness with humility is the greatest gift you can give yourself.
How did you deal with isolation, doubt, or being misunderstood always?
Our reptilian brain is programmed for survival. Cultivate the courage to find your purpose. Don't you realize you're at your very best when you're helping others?
What have you learned that modern success culture often gets wrong about happiness?
Why is this happening to me? We develop all these masks that we wear depending on which situation we're in.
Life doesn't stop us to punish us.
Always wanted to find my calling.
If you're questioning your life right now, it doesn't mean you are lost. It's never too late to begin again.
You can do it in your 60s.
This is Trust Your Journey 1.0. There comes a phase in our life where everything looks fine on the outside, but inside something feels incomplete always. Today's episode of Trust Your Journey 1.0 is for anyone who has asked quietly, is this all there is? Our guest today, Casey Jones, chose reinvention over security. After an unwanted divorce, instead of choosing the safe route, he chose presence, purpose, and uncertainty. Casey now works at the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern happiness science, helping people rediscover meaning in the second half of their life. This conversation will not be about escaping, it will be about becoming. Casey, welcome to the show, Trust Your Journey. I'm honored to record this journey of yours.
Thank you, Avinash, and I'm honored to be here. I've enjoyed every moment we've spent together since we got introduced just about a month ago. It's only been a month, I think, and you guided me on my own sun healing journey and changed my life in that way, and it was a beautiful experience. Thank you for having me.
Casey, to begin with, this would be the first section of our podcast, which will be going deep diving into your journey, the insights which you learned through your journey. First question, Casey, to start the conversation. Before the global travels, workshops, and wisdom, I'm sure there was a moment where life changed your direction. What was happening in your life when you realized, I can't continue the same way anymore?
I actually have a good answer for that. I will say this, at the age of 23, many years ago, 40 years ago, I literally promised my future self. I said, if you're not happy, promise yourself that you will continue to pursue, refine, redirect to become happy. And somehow life happened. Nothing horrible along the way until it all fell apart at once. And then all of a sudden, in my late 50s, I realized, oh my gosh, I have three major things going on in my world that are causing me to malfunction. And I can't go forward the way that I've been going forward because I put my head down in my early 20s and started working 60, 70 hours a week. I'm the cautionary tale of Western society. When you're doing everything else for your family, you're doing it for all the right reasons. And yet, here I was faced with a soul-sucking job And it wasn't the worst job in the world, but I've only worked for a couple of companies. Most of my life, I created my own work opportunities, and so I had that. But I had also developed horrible, through societal conditioning, my horrible coping mechanisms. And my coping mechanisms were I started drinking heavily, which is what took my father early in his life. And I promised my mother I never would. And yet somehow I found myself over consuming alcohol, but also processed sugars, equally evil, equally evil. And so I was very big. I've lost 26 kilos and, roughly 60 pounds for English people, for Americans. Anyway, and then of course, the worst of the worst, because as things weren't coming together for me on my journey, I said, well, at least I have my family. And in the end, I realized, oh my gosh, I have a marriage that was dying, and it was already dead. And so those were the three things that were going on that made me say something has to change, because literally I thought about ending my own life. And I don't want to be overly dramatic, but it really did happen. And then I said, this is not me. I'm a happier person. And I had been studying happiness studies and positive psychology. But those were the three big things that were going on in my life.
Amazing. And sometimes what I feel, life doesn't stop us to punish us. It just stops us to redirect us always. Because getting stuck isn't a failure anywhere in our life. It's often life asking for a better question to ourselves. What do you want to become in our life now? Yeah. And glad, Casey, that your journey, this leads to me the second question of mine. After your divorce, I'm sure this is not an easy phase of anybody's life who is going through such a phase. You could have chosen stability and familiarity. What made you choose uncertainty and then travel and start inner exploration instead of doing something else for your work life and everything?
Hmm. I do want to address a point that you made right before you asked the question. And you said, sometimes these obstacles in life aren't there to stop you, but they're literally there to guide you. And I can say among the many things that I've learned since I did, as you aptly described, my inward journey, I call it Buddhism 2.0. And I think I've shared this with you off camera, but it's like when you change how it was said to me was, when you change one word in the question that we all ask ourselves when things aren't going our way, and we say, why is this happening to me? And in reality, if you just realize this is a guidepost, this is a lesson to be learned and to gain knowledge from, so you don't make the same mistakes moving forward, but you change the word to for, and you say, why is this happening for me? And ever since I've been doing that, I don't get angry and frustrated and anxious over situations that I can't control. I only worry about what I can control. It was really a matter of, in the depths of my wife's depression, she had the courage to seek alternative therapeutic modalities. And that included some shamanic practices. And I had some of that before. Meanwhile, I was just saying, I can't do what I've been doing. Now, I'm a person that's reinvented myself. This is now my 13th time in my adult life. And I'm a person who said, other than being a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon, I feel like I can do anything. It's like, I just knew that I didn't want to go work for somebody else anymore. I didn't ever want to do that again. I didn't have the funding. We had gotten wiped out in 2010 at the tail end of the Great Recession. 2009, we pretty much lost 95% of our net worth. And literally, we had everything in real estate. And when the real estate bubble hit, we lost. It was a quiet desperation, but I didn't feel desperate. I felt freed to pursue, because everything I'd been doing my whole life was, there's a study done from Harvard, and it's called job, career, or calling. And I always wanted to find my calling. And yet, and even when I created my own businesses, I looked at them as temporary jobs. They were just holding a place until I could find my calling. And so the reality was, I spent 3+ decades kind of going through the motions, yet everywhere I went, I was on award-winning teams. I was a key employee in 4 different industries, award-winning businesses that I created myself. And yet I never got the big brass ring either. So I was living in this state of the deflated American dream. It was like I saw the middle class eroding, and it's happening right now. And I just didn't want to play this game that I looked at as a rigged game. So I'm kind of a contrarian in many ways. And my son had traveled the world quite a bit. He had won a scholarship from the US government to study Mandarin in China when he was only 16 years of age. And he went to like 50 countries in 3 years. And I said, oh my gosh, if I could, I would. And so that was kind of always there. I've always been a oneer. I've been interested in what I say now is celebrating cultures through connections, community, and co-creation. And so really it was the fact that I knew that we're all creators. So in my early journeys of reading on Eastern philosophies and doing a couple of these shamanic ceremonies and happiness and positive psychology studies, this all melded into one big limitless opportunity. And I said, I can recreate my life. I can have all the fun I need, even though I didn't have as much money. I don't own a home back in America. I don't have cars anymore back in America. I just took what I had and I said, I'm going to build something. And I'll tell you what, Avinash, within 2 years, I see the fruits of my efforts happening. And the fact that I'm here with you right now is an example of that.
And this is how energies plays its role. I've noticed, Casey, that the biggest changes in life, they don't come with announcements. They actually come quietly in our life, like discomforts, and we can't ignore them anymore. And this is how your life also shaped up. You didn't had any other option, I would say. You wanted to follow that path, which can ignite many audience if anybody resonate with Casey's journey, because these discomforts will happen in our lives. Casey, third question. I know it's very easy to get stuck in failures, right? Because failures do have that negative power, and which is huge. But positivity also has that power. Casey, your work with people who feel stuck, especially in midlife. Why do you believe feeling stuck is not a breakdown but a signal for them?
I think the best way is to describe the arc of how I work with people. And I call it my 3 R's. And it's the recovery. And it used to be, I was more focused on the addiction and to the sugars and the alcohol. And in reality, it's recovering from societal conditioning that tells us we're not enough. We're not good enough. And if you look at everything that comes out of Madison Avenue, all of the, thousands of images we're bombarded with every day. And meanwhile, our monkey mind, our reptilian brain is programmed for survival. So it tells us everything is a danger, is a danger, is a danger. And you're having to deflect this. So when you can get beyond that and realize that we all are creators of our own destiny. And so then after we get by the recovery, where we look at society, and as J. Krishnamurti is one of my favorite quotes, I'll just paraphrase it. He said something to the effect of, being well-adjusted in a profoundly sick society is not a sign of health and of good health. So, and once I heard that, I was like, exactly. I've been going through the motions and faking it, and I could fake it, but I would never made it. So it's fake it till you make it, and that can work, except if you're on the wrong path. And I really feel like every time that there's something misaligned or you have this uneasy feeling, the dis-ease, if you will, in your life, that you need to realize, whether you want to call it your guides, your angels, the divine energy is saying, you're playing in the wrong field. You need to get over to this place. You need to get over to this place. And when you align with those energies, which you're teaching, my friend, is the most beautiful, simple truth that I've ever been touched with. So then I help people reinvent themselves through strengths, values, and passion. And there was something that you taught that was almost exactly like that too. And that's why we get along so well. And then also, and then ultimately it's to redeem yourself for redemption, which is rewriting your legacy. One of my friends passed away early, in his early 50s. And I went back home to my hometown to see, there was standing room only. There was over 500 people there to celebrate his life. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't think 500 people would come to me, see me buried. And it was kind of a very solid, good wake up call. It was one of those things. So anyway, hopefully that's a decent answer to get you to the next question.
Absolutely, Casey, because the reason why you mentioned that fake it until you make it, I would say take it until you make it. You don't need to fake it. Anybody who is listening right now, please understand your energies work with authenticity only. If you'll try and fake it anytime, people can catch it. People can always catch it. So please understand, take it until you make it. And this is how, Casey, your journey is getting also unfolded. Because the scariest part of change isn't losing what we have, it's losing who we thought we were in the past. And we always spend the half of our life building an identity, and the second half of learning how to live without being trapped by it. This leads to me another question of mine, Casey. You blend happiness studies, positive psychology, and ancient philosophies. What have you learned that modern success culture often gets wrong about happiness?
Mm. Well, you just said it, my friend. Among other things, we develop all these masks that we wear depending on which situation we're in. And as we know from Hindu teachings, it's the Maya, the false illusion of self. And you also just mentioned authenticity. So in the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu, it's actually, this is not in the Tao Te Ching, it's in another book called The Unknown Teachings of Lao Tzu by Brian Walker. And he lists the four virtues of a good life, really. And I can quickly name them. It's reverence for all beings. So, and then it's authenticity, it's showing up gentle and kind, and it's service to all. So I think that the biggest thing wrong in society right now is that we've become a me culture. It's we're serving ourselves and we're elevating ourselves at the detriment of others instead of lifting others up. So if you've ever heard, another thing I teach is, if you've ever heard of servant leadership. So it's like you take the corporate chart where they put the CEO on top and you flip that pyramid upside down, and the leader, the best leaders become servants for everyone who works with them. And
Wow.
yeah, those are some of the good highlights.
Beautifully said that you flip that pyramid and it will automatically start serving the society. Like the way you flipped your journey and all. Because I think movement, whether across countries or inside the mind, has a way of waking us up and waking us, like walking the path of ours, right? Like, for example, you're traveling a lot, you're exploring different places of India now, different regions as well in Asia, east side of the world as well. This leads to me because why I'm asking this question, Casey, because you don't travel to escape life. You travel to meet parts of yourself because you have never had that time for, because you have never explored this kind of a life before. This is the reason why you're trying to explore this life. You often say, Casey, win the second half of your life. What does that really mean? Not in theory, but in everyday living. It's very easy to say these things, but it's very difficult when we come into that paycheck thing and the psychological aspect of running behind money and everything, because everybody wants to earn in their life. What do you think? Like how this feeling of win the second half of life can be achieved by everyone who is listening right now?
Well, for me, it's so easy because I've aligned with it. But what's hard for other people to understand, and I am going to mention one thing you said earlier. It's my teacher taught us you have to learn to fail or fail to learn, and then we have to let go. But in Eastern philosophies, Ramana Maharshi, he created the self inquiry. It's called, and it's like so. Where did that thought come from? Who did that thought come to? It came to me, and who am I? And once you realize that our whole egos are just what we've been told we are our whole lives by our parents, by our schools, by our jobs. And we've created all these masks and things. But then when you strip it down and you say, I'm not going to serve myself anymore, because quite frankly, that was one of my epiphanies. And my wife said it to me. She goes, Casey, don't you realize you're at your very best when you're helping others? And I said, yes, I do realize that. All the time I've tried to serve myself and help myself, I failed. And like I mentioned, I wasn't failing, but I wasn't succeeding by my standard. So we have to change what our definition of success is. And success, and in fact, to be a happier person of whole being, as we call it in happiness studies, it's there's three major indicators, and one is that you have community and strong relations. You feel like you're part of something larger than yourself, and that comes from finding what your purpose is. So one of the first steps is saying what I'm doing isn't working. As you kind of alluded to, you got to learn to let go of what is no longer serving you, and strip it down, and then say what resonates with my soul. And for me, it was my whole journey. And I don't always like to say spiritual awakening, but it was a spiritual awakening. But I think it's more easily understood with you say an expansion of consciousness, a redirection, a repurpose, and things like that. Well, my teacher's two principles for living a spiritual life of well-being is number one, that you're more mindfully present, and two, that you have a meaningful purpose. And when you have those two things, when you're mindful in the moment and really present with people, and I think of Einstein's great quote. He says there's two ways to go through life. And one is where nothing is a miracle, and the other is where everything is a miracle. And the more you embrace yourself in that everything is a miracle, the more mindfully present you can be, which leads me to another thought. It's if we're defined by the five closest people to us, it's in a lot of ways. And my five closest people are all teachers. But I will say this, it's that when we birds of a feather flock together, right? So it's like when you surround yourself with people who are in the gossip mill or just talking about what happened yesterday all the time, and they're not in the moment and they're not future focused. So that's really what you want. You want to be as in the mindful moment as much as possible with an eye on the future, but done in a way, bringing back in Eastern philosophies, without attachment to the outcome. So it's called Wu Wei in Taoism. It's called the middle way in Buddhism. So it's the middle path. And that's where you're mindfully present with purpose, but not attached to the outcome. You can let go of what you can't control. I was just going to say, if we could all do that, it would be a better world.
Definitely, Casey, because this is what life is all about. Living every day is a new day, new opportunity. Audience, if anybody is listening and things which Casey mentioned with such a deep wisdom of experiences which he has got from different psychologies and religions, spiritual religions, you can say, the belief system which the core of any belief system of any religion teaches us only one thing, that the sun, moon and the stars are for everyone. Please embrace it. They are there to guide us, Please understand their energies, and once you align with the energies of the universal elements, people like Casey will meet you in your journey and they will ignite your path. Thank you so much, Casey, for answering this, because I strongly believe that ancient wisdom didn't rush happiness. They were not behind happiness, they were living those moments. It taught presence first, because why we are going back to the ancient times is just because of one reason, that happiness element is getting lost. And this is the reason why people like Casey are there to ignite any soul who is there on that path, on that overwhelmed path. Modern life always teaches us speed, but peace often comes when we slow down enough to listen. This podcast is for everyone who is there in their mid career journeys. Whichever journey, I would say, you are in midway in any of your transition of your life. When you'll be hearing the journeys of people like Casey, who is there, and will be coming to the section 2 as well of the podcast. But always remember, what stands out so far is this: life doesn't end when certainty ends. Sometimes that's when meaning begins. Let's keep this round simple, no thinking too much, just what feels true. Casey, this will be the second section of the podcast now. It's a rapid fire round, and I'll be asking you certain questions. You need to reply it in one line, or in a shorter descriptive way, whichever feels suitable for the audience out there. Let's make it fun. Yeah?
Okay, I'm ready.
Because sometimes the shortest answers carries the deepest truth about your journey. Casey, first question of our second section of the podcast, rapid fire round. One word that describes your life before this reinvention.
Regret.
Beautifully said. One word that defines your life now.
Okay. I'll go with service.
I'm sure service needs this much time to think, and I'm glad that you took that pause, because everybody needs that pause in their life. This is a rapid fire round, but still we pauses are there to help us align with our energies and make sure that we are functioning. Casey, third question of the rapid fire round. Comfort or curiosity? What will you choose?
Curiosity.
I know, silly question from my, but I wanted to make
I
sure
I slept on a jungle floor in a tent for 2 months. So in Costa Rica, I took curiosity.
Beautifully said. Casey, next question. One habit that changed everything for you.
See, asking an overthinker one word and one. See, well, yoga is I'm going to say yoga because yoga is a meditation also. So
this is the reason of this rapid fire round is to know the tricky side of yours. Casey, next question. One fear you had to face head on, because fear is everywhere.
Well, I was going to say fear of failure, but I was a serial entrepreneur, so that's not really ringing true. What I was in fear of was judgment from others.
And I'm sure this fear would get resonated with many of our listeners out there. Casey, next question. One thing people overthink about happiness.
That it's a destination when it's actually just the journey.
Beautifully said. There's no destination in life. A final destination, we all know that, right? What's going to happen with this body, right? But our soul is there, which remembers the journey. Thank you so much, Casey, for answering this question. Everything is a journey. Next question. Silence or conversation? Which heals more to you?
The answer is absolutely silence. And it took me 2 winters in a Tantra yoga community in Costa Rica to learn that. It's silent meditation every night. I will just say, well, it's rapid round, so I'll cut it at that and just say silence over words.
And we'll go further in that silence zone in our third section of the podcast. Audience, stay tuned for that. Casey, next question of this round. One place that taught you the most about yourself.
Without a doubt, Pachamama, which is it was an Osho inspired Tantra yoga community that they built in Costa Rica. So after Osho passed, transitioned, it's an eco community that added a wellness retreat element to it. But it's a combination of workshops and service to the community and just meeting like-hearted souls that were on a healing path in the company of many healers that have already gone on the healing journey. And without a doubt, it's the most impactful place I've ever been in my life for me.
And I'm sure it's for many of our listeners who are there because silence does heal, and beautifully said that that place resonates with silence. Casey, next question. One belief about aging you have unlearned.
See, one belief, that I'm studying peak performance aging now and learning all these things. And I would say not only can we keep our bodies a lot stronger, but our minds, they used to teach us, well, after you're 7, you can't learn a language. After, all these false beliefs, when neuroscience has proven that there is neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, and we can retrain our brains. And the more we fire these positive thoughts of this new habit, the more it becomes, you're basically activating a lot of things in your brain that make you remember. And it's a choice. We get bored and we forget. The statistics on people that retire and die within 18 months are really scary. And it's just, the one thing is keep your brain active. Sorry.
Keep it on functioning mode because that's what brain's work is. Rest when it's needed, but please don't stop the functioning of the brain, which is required. Casey, next question of this rapid fire round.
I have a new better answer. It's default, the default mode network. Derail, the default mode network is everything we've been conditioned to do our whole lives. And we keep doing it based on the programming of yesterday. So you reprogram yourself, which is also called epigenetics. Anyway, sorry.
So there are many things which you can do on a daily basis. It's all about habits. Casey, this leads to me another question, next question of mine, which is habits. We are talking about habits. One practice you return to daily.
Well, my newest daily practice is sun healing that you guided me through. And thank you. It's literally one of the most beautiful, simple truths of understanding yourself in the universe and empowering yourself with the limitless abundance and opportunity the universe provides us. So,
Casey, I am grateful that you chose that path. Next question. What does freedom means to you?
I'm going to paraphrase a Maya Angelou quote, famous writer from the States. And she said, you'll never understand freedom until you belong nowhere. And that's what I chose as being the happier nomad with the world's first nomadic happiness center. As I build myself and my journey, I don't belong anywhere, but I belong everywhere. And I made one pact that with myself, wherever I visit, city, country, whatever, I'm going to do one thing to make that place a little bit better before I move on. And now I have a series of those things I'm collecting that are wonderful. Are we still in rapid fire?
Yes, we are in rapid fire round, but yes, that's what freedom means. Reinvent yourself on daily basis. That's what life is for, and you'll find your way. You'll find your energies you'll start aligning with it. Next question, Casey. One thing you stopped chasing now.
My former definition of success, which was tied to money.
I'm sure this definition of success, it can be expressed in multiple ways, right? Definition of success, because success is an individual's choice whether they are feeling successful or not in their life. It's not about the comparisons which the society does. It's all about what you feel from inside, whether you are doing the work which you want to do or not. I hear a audio which is from Earl Nightingale, and it's a 30 minutes audio, and I'm sure you are aware of that audio too. It teaches us a beautiful definition of success, that success is just a progressive realization of a worthy idea you're working on. This is success. If you're walking the path, that is success for you. If somebody wants to transform their body, that is success for them if they've started already doing it. It's all about, if you want to enhance your relationship, that is success. I'm sorry, I'm taking it in the rapid fire round, but sorry for that. But I just wanted to make sure that people understand that they should stop chasing things which are taught to us. Please understand your values. Please understand, once you understand your values, you'll be able to attract everything. Casey, next question. One thing you started choosing now, except sun healing.
Okay, one thing I started choosing. Yeah, I always layer things. So it's a lasagna garden is what we call it. You just layer it. I'm choosing happiness every day. And that's, I get up and I say, thank you to the universe for another beautiful day. I will walk with humility, gratitude, joy, and loving kindness toward happiness.
And beautifully said, because you're choosing happiness, because happiness is not an emotion, I would say. It's an habit which you're choosing on daily basis, and that's what you're doing. Casey, next question and the last question of our rapid fire round. This podcast is themed as Trust Your Journey. So what does trust your journey mean to you in one line?
Make me say it in one line. Trust my journey. I have to say about 2 lines, because the former me was an overthinker, overplanner. I had lists 30 to 50 things along every day, knowing I was only going to get 10 to 15 done. Just kept moving it along, the old Franklin Covey system. And now it's better for me to say, like, when I started this journey, I was supposed to come to Rishikesh and take a yoga teacher training. But then they announced the happiness studies in Cartagena, Colombia. So I went down there. And then, even though I had a ticket return, because you had to in Colombia, I had to have my ticket returned to San Jose, Costa Rica. I thought there was an equal chance I would stay in South America and just keep traveling. And as it turned out, I found out about Pachamama and I ended up going back to Costa Rica. But the point is that the more that I don't overplan, the more opportunities come my way. The more I quit trying to control things that I can't control, that I let go and I flow like the water, the better things, and it leaves you open for new opportunities and unexpected, because I was leaving Rishikesh, but then I met a guy named Avinash. And I said, oh my gosh, I have to have sun healing training. And then a couple other institutions asked me to work with them, and it's created more opportunities. And so plan less and allow to align with your energies so that the universe will reflect back to you your worth and what your mission should be. Not so rapid.
So how would you summarize it in now one line? Trust your journey. One line.
Know that when you're on the right path, the universe will conspire on your behalf to make your dreams come true.
Beautifully said. And there's a Bollywood line as well, which most of our audience would get resonated with. When you are thinking about something, you'll become that only. But only thing is, you need to take actions. You'll meet people in your journey. That's what Trust Your Journey is all about. Having faith on your journeys. Audience, if anybody is listening right now, because if you're not trusting your journeys, how will the manifestations, everything, whatever you want to do in your life, you just have got one life and it can go away in just one breath. Yeah, please go ahead, Casey.
May I put in a line about manifestation? Because there are misconceptions out there, and people put out a lot of things out into the universe through digital platforms and stuff. And there's a lot of people that say, if you just think it, it'll happen. And my teacher said, hold on a second. And the reality is, yes, the most beautiful our connection. If you go to the point and you think our brains are actually just an antenna for the universal energy to come, which is what I believe, it's the quantum leap, if you will. But if you realize that your thoughts are coming from somewhere and they come into your brain, and that when you have these dreams and ambitions and beautiful ideas to serve your community, and you say, okay, now what does it take? You now have to put action, as you're suggesting, to those dreams. But then you also have to have perseverance. You have to be able to have grit and overcome the obstacles, because inevitably things will get in your way that will try to derail you. So it takes three things for manifestation to actually happen.
And beautifully summarized, Casey, because life is not about only thinking. It's all about taking actions, but in an aligned way. You need to align your energies first. Whenever people get up in the morning, I just have one thought for them. Give half an hour to yourself, just to start your day with, because once you align yourself, that what's going to happen in this throughout the day, the energies will guide you. Your energies will guide you then. Thank you so much, Casey, because I know sometimes clarity doesn't come from long answers. It comes from the most honest ones. This is the main purpose of this rapid fire round. And now we are heading towards our third section of the podcast. This is the third section of our podcast in discussion with Mr. Casey Jones from United States. And Casey, this would be the third section of the podcast. This is your journey, the pains, the growth, and the learnings, whatever you have overcame in this journey of yours. Because I can understand, being from a corporate life to doing this kind of a role, every rebirth begins with something ending. I had to end that role and start this journey, because everything needs an ending. We don't talk enough about the space between endings and beginnings, right? There's a journey people have followed, right? People are just seeing the endings and the beginnings, but nobody is looking at the journeys. That's where most people lose themselves. And there's a phase where nothing makes sense, but later everything connects. You don't just see it while you are inside it. Casey, first question from our section 3 of the podcast. You use the words abyss, bliss, and this. What did the abyss feel like emotionally, mentally, when everything fell apart?
You're right. This is going to be emotional. So imagine having gone through the Great Recession, and I had my own real estate business, and I literally said to my mortgage partner, I said, I'm a year to 18 months away from like generational wealth. I really thought I was set for my lifetime and my children's lives. And then it was a house of cards, and it just all collapsed. And somehow the universe gifted us this amazing mountaintop outside of Portland, Oregon. I was lucky enough to get a job that I could travel. I ran the North American division for an international manufacturing company. I was paid very well, and I was there at a great time when we were growing at 27% annual compounded growth a year and killing our business. We went from distant number two to catching number one to dominating our industry. And it was a beautiful experience that I'm glad I had. But meanwhile, I couldn't have felt more out of place. And yet somehow, and I was able to move anywhere. They said, yes, you can move back to the West Coast. And so it really was, I wasn't going to live in Los Angeles or San Francisco. It was either San Diego, where we had lived for many years, or Portland or Seattle. And we chose Portland because it's a smaller town with good energy, beautiful, beautiful natural scenery everywhere. And we found this little mountaintop, and we looked up at the Cascade Mountain Range and four glacier peaks. And the second I got there, I said, oh my gosh, this is going to be, we're going to create not only a family homestead, but we're going to create like a glamping, what they call micro resorts. And then when we got into the healing community, the yogis and the meditators and the shamans, and they all just started coming. And we hadn't even gotten a legally licensed, but this is all coming together. And we renovated our barn, and it became a wonderful ceremony space with a gourmet kitchen where my wife could do cooking school. It was all coming together. It was like somehow, in spite of ourselves, there we were, and it was beautiful. And then in the middle of one of these, basically all night ceremony, I had what's called ego death. So made famous by Carl Jung, and it was like my whole ego shattered. I realized that the dream was over, that my wife was no longer in love with me, that everything I was convinced was happening for us was just going away. And the only way, because we had put all of our money into developing this mountaintop, we had to sell the property. We couldn't keep it. We worked on trying to keep it, either one of us. And I can just say that I was convulsively crying on the floor and realizing that I had to start over, that I was nothing, that I wasn't all these things that I thought I was. It was just all gone. And so there I was, left with the need to find the courage to rebuild.
Beautifully articulated in words, Casey, because not many people have the courage to accept their failures. And it's not a failure, I would say, for you. It's a failure for people who are not there with you now. Because the energies which you have become, right? Now you're working just with the flow, with the energies out there who is guiding your path. And this is what energies does once we accept ourselves, the way we are. Not performing like the mask thing which you mentioned, not wearing multiple masks in different conditions, just wear one mask and let it be. So this is how universe unfolds, and this is why we are talking about this journey of yours, because I can understand the pain it takes, because this is a path of loneliness, right? This leads to me the second question of mine, Casey, because loneliness, I am sure, always rediscovers something in ourselves. Reinvention can feel lonely because only few people can understand it. How did you deal with isolation, doubt, or being misunderstood always? I'm sure there must be many situations in this journey
Oh,
where,
many, many, many. I know the first month that I was at Pontamama, for example, um, and there were a lot of young travelers. So I eventually became, more so in my second year, I became Pancha Papa. And to these young 20, 30-year-olds that are my children's ages. And the fact that they saw me as a bright light helped me get back into my confidence in myself, because I often wondered, why is it that I'm such an extrovert and I love people? Why is it that My wife and my two children are more introverted, and they don't see the bright light in me. And it was kind of hard. But I actually knew that I had to isolate myself. I've literally referred to it as self-exile. I literally said, I have to take myself away from. I could have gotten many jobs. I could have bought another house. I just, but then I would have just been repeating the old patterns. And I had to just break outside of that and rediscover myself and, quite frankly, remember who I am. But the first month, I was not good at being lonely and being isolated. And I grew into it as I started to embrace stillness and aligning myself with my soul and source, and then bringing that back on a positive plane and co-creating with people around me. And I realized that isolation is if you can learn to be happy with yourself. I had to learn to love myself again. I hated myself for so many years. I thought I wasn't doing enough for my family. I thought my family had everything they ever needed, and if I couldn't have just seen it. But I really thought that I was this underachiever. And so what I had to do was continue to dismantle that ego. I mean, I had the experience, I knew it was open, but I still had to get rid of a lot of the negative energies and let them flow through me and not stick and resonate inside of me. And so, but now I'm happy as I can be. Like I went to Govind Devji temple yesterday at 4:30 in the morning because my friend Krishna told me you got to go there. And so I went there, and I didn't take a cab back or a tuk-tuk back. I walked 12 kilometers because I'm very happy. I'm happy just seeing different things. And I've learned to be happy to just thank the people of the world that show up to their jobs every day so the world's functioning while I just spin like a top around the planet. But anyway, I've learned to be comfortable in my own presence. I've learned to love myself again, and so I don't feel isolated anymore.
And this is the reason why we are seeing the Casey, who is talking to us right now, sharing his journey and with so much comfort and ease. Because sharing emotions takes courage, Casey, and you chose to share your journey. This is something which is, I'm sure, the audience who is listening to us right now understand one thing: whenever we are going through any phase of our life, acceptance plays the first role in our lives. Without accepting ourselves, with our faults, with our strengths too, everybody has got strengths too. Please understand your unique strengths. Once you understand your strengths, you'll be able to channelize your energies too. You'll find your way. You'll find people who will support you in that way. There are so many things happening in the universe. We are evolving always, and this is how the universe functions. Change is already happening. We just need to be part of that change. Start functioning like that. Like, let's be part of this circle. Casey, thank you so much for answering this question. I can understand because loneliness isn't always about being alone. Sometimes it's about becoming someone new every day. You can start becoming a better version of yourself every day. Growth often feels like grief before it feels like freedom. Because I've realized that the most meaningful growth rarely feels comfortable while it's happening. Casey, moving on to the third question of our section 3 of the podcast, Trust Your Journey. What was one uncomfortable lesson that later became your greatest growth?
I would have to say, Avinash, the day that my wife said to me, "Yeah, this is it. This is it." She said to me, "You always regret yesterday and you fear the future." And that's how I live my life. I was never letting go of the past. I was like, "Oh, I couldn't have done that." And then I did fear the future. Like, would I be able to provide enough for my family, and what's going to happen, and blah blah blah, and I was never present. And I would say being mindfully present is the number one gift any of us can give ourselves, to be present in a moment and not be wondering, what am I doing 10 minutes from now? How am I going to answer that person's question? Just letting it flow. It's of course the mindful presence and a purpose. And I never had either one of those. So that one statement by my wife, who I love very much, we got her set up in a nice little home, and she's happy where she's at, and she likes when I visit just a little bit. And it's all fun. We did part with loving kindness. But I would definitely say learning to be more present. I'm not saying you can do it all the time, but the more and more you can, the more you find flow in your life, and that's part of the key. We want to increase these creative flow moments, and that's what mindful presence will do for us.
And this is what a journey gives you. When you transform yourself, you are always, always, always mindfully present at the situation which you are at in. Thank you so much, Casey, for answering this question, because your journey from getting into that phase of life, now reinventing yourself, would get resonated with many of our listeners out there who wants that life, to feel that life which they always wanted to. And this is what the message is for the audience as well out there. Casey, a message for all the listeners who are feeling lost, who feels lost in their lives. For someone listening who feels restless, stuck, or afraid to start again, what would you want them to hear today?
I would say learn to be content with what you have. Don't worry about comparing yourselves to what other people have, because comparison is the thief of joy. To learn to live in gratitude, joy, and loving kindness with humility is the greatest gift you can give yourself. And what I would say is cultivate the courage to find your purpose, to determine your purpose, and that'll give you joy every day.
And it's never too late to choose a life that feels true.
You can do it in your 60s.
Yeah. Because the second half of your life isn't about proving anything now. It's about finally living.
Yeah, and I'm generous to call it my second half of life, because statistically speaking, I'm in the fourth quarter.
I would say it's your first quarter, which you're living now of your life.
Yes.
And this is your evolution, which has happened. And this is what the world needs in this Kali Yuga, which we say that we live in Kali Yuga. So we need people like you who are there, and who has found their path, and they can help others too. Audience, if anybody wants to get in touch with Casey Jones, we'll dive into the final section of the podcast, which is the last section, where I would want people to know how they can reach out to you, how they can take your services, if anybody needs that experience of yours, because you have got so much of wisdom and so much of experience with yourself, which you can share with the world. And if anybody of any of our listeners who wants to contact you, how they can reach out to you, Casey.
Definitely. Currently, my website is kcjonestransformation.com. And my website, and you can, if anybody wants to reach out to me, they could set up an appointment for a free half-hour consultation on the Calendly app that's on there.
Okay, and we'll share the details how you can contact Casey Jones in the description too. Just go through the description. I can truly resonate with Casey's journey, because I don't think people need motivation now. Now, it's not required. They just need their own permission, that whether you're willing or not, because we are living in such an era, such a beautiful era, that everybody is connected, right? We are living in connection age. right? You can network with anyone out there. And it's such a beauty of this digital age which we are living in. And I feel lucky enough that I'm able to operate, right? Because digital for me is empowerment now. It gives you that amplification of your voice. And this is the reason the audience is listening to this podcast, right? Through digital mediums only. So digital doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It's all about utilizing it. Start utilizing things. When you start thinking about utilizing things, there's wellness in everything. The sun teaches us only this path, that the light is producing everything. Take it on that particular day what you want for your body, for your soul, for your kindness, whatever you want to do in your life. It's all about functioning in such a way that can help others as well. If you find that in a day's time you can help other two people, that's the journey people should follow. That's the message which I have for the audience, because no phase of life is ever wasted. It's either shaping you or preparing you. If you're questioning your life right now, it doesn't mean you are lost. It means you are awakening. Wherever you are today, trust that this chapter is part of your journey. Casey, thank you for reminding us that it's never too late to begin again. Not with speed, but with presence. To everyone listening, and if life feels uncertain right now, maybe it's not broken. Maybe it's asking you to listen now. This is Trust Your Journey 1.0. Because sometimes the second half of life is where, Casey, we finally come home to ourselves. Casey, last message from your side for our audience out there, and then we'll wrap up this session. I am so grateful to record this podcast with you, and our audience has liked this podcast. They will share their comments as well about their journeys and how you can help them in their journeys to become a better version of themselves. Casey, last message from your side, and we'll wrap this.
Thank you, Avinash. I want to express extreme gratitude for you and your platform and your teaching. You're guiding me through the sun healing. It has really changed my life. It's impacted me in such a powerful way, as I have shared with you in the past, that I was out searching for the truth. I wanted to cut through the clutter of the nonsense and the lies of society to get to truths. And what you shared with me, my friend, is truth. And I love it, and I'm grateful for it. And I would say to anyone, spend more time with Avinash. You'll be in good shape.
Thank you so much, Casey. Audience, if anybody currently, if they are feeling stuck in their life, please understand this is just your journey. There are many phases in life. Just give it a breath. Yeah, please, Casey.
I'm so sorry. I should have said that my goal right now is to launch. I won't plug my book right now, but I am writing the book. But I'm also going to launch my YouTube channel, which I've decided to do first, which will be called happiernomad.com. And then people can find out stories and things that I've learned along the way as an amazing temples and UNESCO sites that I go to, and the amazing people that I meet, Avinash being one of them. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Casey, for letting us hear your journey, because it takes courage, it takes emotions, it takes a lot of hard work, it takes a lot of preparation for ourselves. How do we want to share our journey? You did it so beautifully, and I'm sure audience would gonna like it. Thank you so much, audience, for watching it, hearing us out so patiently till now. And if you think that this journey can help others achieve their dreams, please share it with your friends and families so it can help ignite anybody else's path. Thank you so much, audience, too. Thank you so much, Casey. Trust your journey. I'm so glad I'm doing this series, and this is what Trust Your Journey gives, that if you're trusting your journey, your path automatically shapes up. You just need to have that faith. Take care. I'll see you in another episode.